Welcome back to another episode of Set the Tone podcast here at Blinktone Studios, where we talk to creatives, entrepreneurs, and everybody in between.
Today we got Kevin Allen on the show. He's from Grand National. He's a photographer, a rapper, and he does his own production for his own videos. I thought we had a pretty great conversation today. We get into a lot of different topics. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so was music kind of like your first passion, and that's kind of like been your most strong passion that's kind of persisted until now?
Yeah, I think music and photography, but music just took off. Like it's a different level of freedom, you know what I mean, to be able to create like that. So that's probably been the strongest one. It's been
When did you start doing photography?
maybe 17, 18 years old, maybe something like that.
Oh, okay.
Like high school, kind of like photography class here and there, but always had a camera on me. Always like was doing like album covers for the homies that I was around and learning Photoshop and all that type of shit. But yeah, I've been in it for probably just as long as I've been doing music. You know what I mean?
What were you shooting on in the beginning?
Some 35 millimeter film camera until I got like a small digital camera.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I liked film for a while, but that shit is expensive to keep fucking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting that shit developed. So
Yeah,
digital
thanks.
came along, and everyone had a digital camera, and it just it's been that ever since. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. If you could, what has been your trajectory? As in, like, what's your goal in art and business? Like, where have you been working towards, and are you there yet, or what's your goal?
Right now, the goal has kind of shifted from solo artist to Grand National, like this crew that I'm putting together with my homies, Monty and Deuce and Paz and Deezus, and we just my whole crew just kind of put together like super like a team.
Right.
So it's expanded from just myself from being a solo rapper. I'm gonna be a rapper, to now we have a company. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just growing. So now the goal is to create a production company that houses artists, musicians, directors, designers, all in one. So you don't gotta feel kind of like you're solo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now the goal is just to kind of house that.
That's cool. It's like more of a collective kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I think that's super important, like creating those spaces where people collaborate or even see other creators face to face, because that's like something we've talked about on this podcast before, like starting Blinktown. It's cool to like start seeing artists face to face and like kind of working. It kind of gets you more motivated, because like in the art field, it's a lot of like doing stuff to the neck, very solo, and it kind of gets, it's cool, but sometimes it gets a little bit, dry or lonely, and you lose that motivation. But when you're surround yourself with people that are like-minded or creative, it just kind of makes you want to do more. It kind of pushes you to do more. So that's super dope. And in terms of like production company, are you talking about like films or just like everything under the umbrella, just films and stuff like?
Like we've produced visuals like for our artist,
Right.
Jane Hancock, or like Dame Lillard. We shot something for Dame Lillard for 2K.
Oh, that's sick.
At his crib, we just built out a set and hired a crew, and then we produced it, and then we do music videos. We do
That's sick.
podcast, whatever we need to do. Like Monty does a podcast. He's like 150 something episodes in.
Oh,
so
wow.
He's just been, you know what I mean? So we just do whatever it takes. Like he works with Adidas on some basketball AU camp. Like Deuce's writing treatments. Like, so our whole crew just does a bunch of different things. I do like creative direction and like in art direction and photography. You know what I mean? So just whatever piece of the art, either we can do it or we can find someone who can do it. Like, you know what I mean?
And what do you think? What do you attribute like that shift in mindset in terms of like being kind of like this solo rapper or musician and photographer and then like switching into like I kind of want to do this with other people? What do you think what was that switch or that moment that you were like, maybe I should team up or start working with other people?
My mentor probably just learning business and like learning like different aspects of the game,
Yeah.
like how to think. It started to just become clear that not being able to delegate certain tasks, I'm gonna kill myself.
Right.
And then how many other people do I know that are just like me who are gonna kill themselves because they're trying to do everything by themselves? So it's like, well, if you doing it by yourself, you doing it by yourself, you doing it by yourself. It just kind of made sense
Right.
to just let's lighten the load a
Yeah.
little bit. You know what I mean?
Nah, it definitely makes a lot of sense. I think me and Adam have had conversations about that before because both just doing music videos, because, music videos, it's like the way that we do them, it's like, we're kind of doing the lighting plus the shooting plus the directing and the editing. So it gets like, it becomes a lot. And then you do 20 or 30 videos a month. It's like after a while, no matter how much you love something, you're just going to come to like feel like this is a job. So we've definitely talked about like, dude, we got to start doing more videos together so we can, kind of break off that load. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's super sick though. I think that's
Delegating tasks.
yeah, because man, you just can't do it all, dude. Like
Yeah.
and you could try, but I feel like you kind of burn yourself out after a while when you try to do everything, and pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah. It's all about keeping that momentum and like figuring out what are the things that it's like this is what I'm really good at. This is what you're better than me at. Maybe I'm gonna do less what I'm less good at, and then you're gonna pick up the slack where, and then
Right.
you kind of build off of each other. But
Really though, like
Facts.
really though. That's what our music has become about. Like that's what you know what I mean. It's wellness. It's taking care of your family, taking care of your brothers, taking care of your sisters. It's really like working together
Right.
and pushing that forward. Like we can completely do some crazy shit and just whatever, but we just kind of like felt like, you know what, like those lanes are already filled up. The lane that's not filled up is working together and saying it's cool to work together because I've never seen it not work. Like from Cash Money, Bad Boy,
Yeah.
No Limit, everything I grew up on was 100 people in the room. You know what I mean? Death Row, like everything was just 100 people in the room all the time. So if it's your turn for your album, we all focus on your album.
yeah,
And when it's your
Right.
turn, we all focus on yours. Like that way you get 30 people to touch it and play piano and bass and this, that, and the third. So every album is consistent and not that shit weak, this shit cool, this shit better, this shit is like everything has our whole vibe on it every single
Yeah.
time you hear us. So
Yeah.
we just wanted to keep that consistency through all the way through.
And that definitely comes with problems as well. Like, do you, what are some of the, if any, you probably have a good team that you guys probably know each other, but like working together in terms of like creative stuff. I know sometimes it's like having too much cooks in the kitchen. Sometimes it gets a little bit like people want to, because when it comes to art, people get really passionate. So like when somebody has an idea to go this way and somebody else, what are some of those like obstacles like in terms of creative differences? And do you think working with people have helped you like kind of maneuver and listen to other people's ideas better? Or like what do you think you've gained from that experience of working with more people opposed to being by yourself and being to the neck?
Yeah, it's both. It's definitely both. I try to keep the art first. So whatever is best for the art,
Right.
then I might gotta shut up. If I'm too like, 'cause passion kind of like blinds you a little bit. Like you could be passionate, but if you too passionate,
Yeah.
it's like what's up with him? Like, does the hi hat matter that much? Like, does that
Facts.
really matter? Like, you know what I mean? So we try to keep that balance between each other to say, if this isn't the sound we're going for, and like I do arrangements. Like that's my personal thing. Like move that verse, put that here, cut that, trim this, add this. Like I'm like that kind of producer. So that's my thing.
Right.
And somebody else's thing is the hook. You do the hook. You do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And together we make the shit happen. We also try to rely on bringing our egos down. So yeah, it does exist because we're creatives and we're going to butt heads and yada, 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 and this, that, and the third, but it's only for the betterment of the project. Once it becomes personal, then that person has to go, you got to go check yourself. You got to step out of here. What we're talking about is the art, not you as my friend. Like, you know what I mean? So we just make that distinction that if we butt heads on something, is this personal or is this about the music? If it's about the music, then we can argue all day. Like, you know, the kick got to sound like this. And then we can fight like, we seen Kanye do that shit he went around, forgot the name of the song, might have been Power or Stronger.
Yeah.
and he's going around different. He's going to Timberland. He's going to Switch. All these different producers to change the one sound until that sound is right. People might say he's crazy until the album come out, and then it goes #1. So you know what I mean.
Right.
So that's the kind of mentality we want to have. Like,
Right.
I'll die for the music, but I ain't gonna fight my partner. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So we just try
That's
to
crazy.
make sure that's clear.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it happen many times. Like people get into, especially as friends, like get into altercations over just art and opinions and stuff like that. And it's hard to see because, like, you know, you can feel them, but at the same time, I always feel like it's really never that serious, to be honest. But you know, what do you remember, like, whether it be music or photography? Do you remember like one of the first gigs that you ever got paid for, in terms of like doing something off your art? Do you remember what that first gig was, and like how did that change your perspective? Or like were you juiced off of it? Was it like, you know, what was the whole experience like?
So I'm not exactly sure the very first time because I was selling beats,
Yeah.
300 here, 400 here, like maybe 2005, 6. I kind of started getting good enough to sell shit.
Right.
And so shout out to my homie Bedrock. Bedrock is like a super producer. He's, you know, worked with everyone that, you know, Guapale and all these people. And he kind of owned this studio now it's called Zoo Labs. But it was called something else back in the day, whatever it was. But I was working at this spot where we did like medical, like billing or some crazy shit. And I ended up getting fired like right before Christmas on some just on some random shit. Like it was just weird how they did it. And I had my first apartment. I had a kid, and I was just sitting there like, damn, like what the fuck am I gonna do? And then he calls me and he's like, yo, you left some beats over here. Somebody just bought one for like $900. Like I sold it for $900. Come get the money. And I was like, wait, what? Like,
Right.
I think my rent was like $700 or something. At the time, it was just something crazy low. But I didn't have no bread. So when he did that, it like gave me a spark to go, I could really do this. I could like sell my music.
That's it.
Did you not realize before that you could monetize your music?
I mean, I didn't see my value as higher than what I was getting at the time. Because I was just learning kind of how to make beats, and I was getting good, but I didn't, you know, you don't really know what's what at that age, at that time. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like, shit, like, give me a couple hundred, 300, 400, because that's all people was buying it for. When they would start buying them and getting placements on the radio, and I'm like, damn, maybe I should charge more. I didn't really know until he hit me. Like, it was like 900, 950 or something. I was like, so I could raise my prices now. So that gave me the confidence to go like, you know, I can really fuck with this.
That's crazy. I mean, what's like, because my brother's an engineer, so I kind of have like, and he produces, you know, beats as well. So I kind of have like a rough idea of how beats are like made and how they're sold. But like, I mean, obviously there's been a huge shift in how like music has been consumed and like sold and stuff like that. What is like the main difference? And do you think it's been harder to like sell beats for higher prices nowadays, or it's like it's become easier? Because I realize like, you know, there's a lot more people making music right now, but then at the same time, there's a lot more of like the YouTube, like free beats and shit like that. So what is that like in terms of like being a producer and being in that space? Is it like been easier or been harder? Like how's that been?
I guess if you look at it from like the one angle of just the production, it's definitely gonna be hard.
Right.
But so that's kind of what the group thing allows us to do, is like to free up cap space almost. Is like, yeah, we can give you a beat, but we're gonna give you the entire experience, which we know other producers won't go that extra mile because they just want to flip the beat like it's drug money. Like, yeah, I sell you a beat, you give me the money, and then transaction's over.
Yeah.
With us, it's like, I could give you a beat, but it's gonna come with a song, probably a concept, probably a treatment for a video, probably a placement on an album, probably a photo shoot, so it just expands. So if we just do production, we're gonna have bass, guitar, key. We're gonna make sure the song sounds like nothing you ever bought from so and so on YouTube. Like, there's no way. You know
Do you sell that to artists outside of the group?
Yeah, definitely. So we just it just became official that
Yeah.
production company. So now it's open to whoever. So we tapped in with shout out to this chick named Raketti, man. She's super dope, New York. She came out here a couple weeks ago and just tapped in, and she's following the path. Like, okay, come here, this studio, get this person to produce it. I'm gonna shoot the photos. He's gonna write the treatment. We're gonna direct it. I'm gonna DP it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then we just lock it.
That's super interesting. I like that concept because, like, I've thought about something similar where it's kind of like a funnel, right? Where it's like, because you see a lot of artists and you kind of realize, like, not all artists know, like, who to go for a beat and a music video and like everything, the whole package. So it's like offering an artist, like, boom, come to me and I got everything you need to get this into an end product, and you're proud of it. So like that's super interesting. I've thought about something similar to that before. That's crazy. And do you have is everybody like just a business partner? Is it you and somebody else? Like, what's the dynamic there?
4 of us that are at the core of the business aspect.
Right.
Every artist on Grand National it's hard to say it that way because we're not a label. You know what I mean? So we just are funneling different artists together and bringing them together to work. So the core of the production company is myself, Deezus, Monty Draper, and Brookfield Deuce.
Yeah, man. Circling back to that first question. I mean, not the first question, but the question I asked before about coming into your first, like, selling the beat and noticing that you can make money in that area. What was like? It's probably a while ago, so you might not know it like step by step. But like, what was the next kind of step? Were you looking for that second job while trying to go harder on the beats, or was it like you just started going super heavy on trying to produce?
It's a little bit of both. Because that security, like, what you're taught is just go get a job.
Right.
And the reality was the music was what was paying me at the time. So it might not be millions of dollars, but shit, 900 when I didn't have nothing at that time was like 1,600 to me. So it was like, all right, cool. Well, if I can do that a couple times a month, then I don't need to have no job.
Right.
And that's kind of how it started, where, I might have a job or a 9 to 5 here and there, but it was nothing that I ever took serious. Like, I never thought I was going to be a engineer or a computer designer or nothing crazy. It was just like, I'm just going to do music. So however it panned out, it panned out. So I just started going hard at producing. I just started going hard, get my equipment together, like Pro Tools, and learn how to record myself and engineer. And like, that's what it was. So when I got off work, I was probably writing raps the whole entire time, and then came home and just recorded till 2 in the morning, and just working to pay for music. Like, that's all it was.
And for those people that don't know you, like, where was this all happening at? Oakland? It's all happening.
Richmond.
Okay.
And I did a brief stint in Hayward and San Leandro, like, as far as an adult, like finding my own like apartments and live where I could record, make a noise and shit like that, and not really disturb the neighbors.
Okay.
So yeah, just Richmond, Oakland, Hayward, like that's kind of like my route.
Okay.
Growing up.
So,
on a separate note, did you go to college, or if not, like what importance do you see, like, as like a kid coming up maybe in high school that's maybe making beats or trying to be an artist as a career? What's, in your eyes, what's the importance of college for that kid?
Networking. It's all like networking. Like, I think it's been said a million times, but like, did the dude who created college go to college? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so yeah, it's just to network, to meet people. Like, however you get your information is how you get it. I'm sure there's beautiful classes and things you can learn, but from my experience, it's who you know. And if you don't know anybody, then it doesn't matter how good you are. Like, there's a lot of weak ass people that get through the door because their cousin worked there, their homeboy worked there.
yeah, we've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
College is cool. Like, I'm not gonna shit on it. I didn't go to college. Like, I think I took like a semester, and
Okay.
I don't know, did some weird ass shit.
Yeah, it's the same as you.
But I had a job. Like, I was just working at 18 years old. Like, when I graduated that next week, I had a job.
Yeah, it's definitely when you're working and going to school, and you're making cool money. Like in my experience, I was already starting to develop this like video stuff. So seeing the money and then seeing the school, I was just like, it doesn't really make sense for me to keep on going here. I feel like I'm missing out on more opportunities because that's where I was meeting my connections and meeting my like, the people that I was gonna actually like aspire to be in that field or whatever. Like college, I just feel like I was just kind of going to go at a certain point. But
Yeah.
I mean, like you said though, it's for some people. I feel like for those people that are not sure exactly what they want to do, I feel like college is cool because it kind of gives you like some type of regiment that you got to be doing every day if it's going to be paid for and whatever the case may be. I feel like you should just go, because at least you're building some type of skill instead of doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah, no, it's like if it's not a financial burden on you and you can just go and you can go to those classes and you can just get something out of it. If there's nothing that you're sacrificing to go into those classes, there's kind of no reason not to go.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah, I think that's one of those like things that I hear the most. It's like people just going to classes and feeling like they just haven't, you know what I'm saying? They just feel like they're wasting the most amount of time. But on the flip side, I'll ask them like, dude, like, what would you be doing instead of this? And they just have like no real answer to me. You know what I mean? So it's like at a certain point, it's like, as long if you're not passionate about something, have something kind of going for yourself, you might as well just kind of go down that route until you figure it out. That's like I feel like it's a good transition or in between time, because like, would you rather just be at the house doing nothing?
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Kind of transitioning into your photography. What is your philosophy, or how do you capture people? Because that's one of the things that when I shot the video with you, I mean, kind of one of the reasons why you're on the podcast right now is that it was like when I was shooting with you, I was shocked by the way that you were like talking to me, and the way that it's like I very, very, very rarely shoot with people that have any understanding what's going on behind the camera. And I was so thrown off when I was like bringing equipment up and you were like leveling with me on the same kind of playing field of like understanding what I was doing when I was like capturing people. And so I was so shocked, and I was like, oh shit, like I can't bullshit at this video because like he knows what I'm doing.
Yeah, he was telling me that he was like he actually knew what he was talking about, because there's those people that try to act like they know what they're talking about and they try to chime in, but at the end of the day they're just kind of like,
it's like you take it with a grain of salt, because it's just like, okay, like they're I can give them something and then they'll give me a feedback, but then they kind of you understand more than they do, so you just you kind of understand what the dynamic is.
Right.
One of the things, and then after like I was kind of checking out some more of your photography, I was definitely like, especially the one that I think you posted on, what was it, July 4th with the flag in the background. That was crazy. Like that gave such a strong presence and such a strong vibe. Like I definitely wanted to talk more about how do you capture people, and where do you try to tell like a specific story when you're capturing people, or are you just giving a vibe off of a person? Like what's your reasoning behind how you capture?
Damn, like that's a great question. Nobody's really, I don't think, ever asked me that, but I think the vibe that I want to, there's a lot of story behind it, but I think I was sitting there the day before I took that photo, and I was just smoking, listening to the music and shit, just kind of off to the cut, and then I'm looking at this flag, and I'm like, the juxtaposition would be to put a strong black woman in front of the flag. I didn't even realize it was 4th of July.
Really?
Like, yeah, I just wanted to do the opposite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I guess that's the essence is finding things that don't fit and trying to make them fit together.
Right.
So it's not predictable.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just like a nerd when it comes to like studying. Hold on. When it comes to like studying like photography and videography and lighting, and then so I just became like interested in how it really works, because a lot of people, like you said, they kind of just say whatever, that ain't how this shit work. Like, you gotta know what kelvins you gotta set the light at. You gotta know what angle works for certain people. Like, but photography has taught me that. Like, my mentor and some of my peers that are just like around my age and my homies, they taught me so much about the real, like how to shoot, how to tell stories with lighting, with the subjects you pick. So I'm just completely immersed in that. And then people meet like me as a rapper and they don't connect the two. But it's all art to me. It's the same with music. It's the same with photography. Same with directing. It's all the same. But all of it is a story. You know what I mean? You use certain lighting for certain people. Somebody got a big ass forehead. You can't light a certain way because the shadows on the face. It's just like shit you just gotta fucking know, like, in order for it to work.
Right.
And I just take it hella serious. Like, I mean, I'll nerd out on YouTube till 5 a.m. watching so-and-so's, like, how did Quentin Tarantino get this story out of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Facts.
It's just something I enjoy doing, whether it be sports. Like, some people love sports, and they just nerd out on sports and can tell you every single player that did whatever the fuck. But I'm more like, nah, shooting to the corner because it gives the room more depth. Like, I'm into that. Like, you know what I mean? That's just what I'm into, so.
Are there any specific photographers or like filmmakers or any specific artists that like you particularly look at, or are you kind of more so like not super into specific artists?
I'm not super into specific artists like Gordon Parks or something, like old school photographers like that. I kind of like love the work because they capture something that will never happen again, like the rareness of Jim Crow and all that shit that was happening.
Yeah.
But at this point, anything I see is inspiration. Everything is inspiration. Any photographer I see is like, oh, that shit crazy. And I'll go into a rabbit hole and, okay, boom. All right, what's up with this? All right, boom. Like, you know what I mean? And yeah, everything is inspiration at this point.
Is there any like specific, this could also connect back to your music, or like as you're saying that all your art is kind of like interconnected. Is there any like specific story or any one topic in general that you think that throughout your lifetime you just can't get enough of trying to like capture this in an art form? Like I know for me there's specific types of art that will never not be interesting to me. Like I've always been, from like in middle school, I've always been into like really kind of gritty like crime movies, and that was what was like always interesting to me. And then that kind of carried into like how I make art. That's what's interesting to me. Is there any like specific interesting topic that you think that is a reoccurring topic in your art?
That, enjoying the grit. I also grew up watching that shit and being a part of it and trying to find the beauty in it at the same time. You know what I mean? Watching, I always use this reference, but it was the Juvenile High video, 400 Degrees album and all that shit. So when I watched that for the first time, they were from New Orleans, but it looked like they were from where I'm from in North Richmond. It looked kind of the same, but at that point, I didn't understand the lineage between New Orleans and Richmond and how there was a generational connection. I just thought it was a coincidence that they talked like Richmond, but Richmond was actually talking like New Orleans because their grandparents were from New Orleans, so this whole shit was just happening over my head.
Could you explain a little bit more of that history for people to know? Yeah,
so there was like redlining in Richmond, specifically North Richmond, where it's like an unrestricted area where it's part of the city, but it's really not part of the city. And it's kind of like closed off, and it's by a refinery. And so all this poison is in the fucking air. All this shit is going on. And when people were migrating from New Orleans to Richmond, they were kind of put in these areas that weren't really unincorporated, I think, unincorporated, something like that. And they were put into these areas where they were forced to kind of work in these crazy-ass environments. So the New Orleans lingo and the accent was kind of just being built in Richmond. So the kids start talking like the grandparents, and then so on and so forth. So when I started growing up like in the 80s and shit, that's how it sounded. But I never knew anything about that until a few years ago. And I was like, oh shit, that's why the connection was there. So I'm watching this Juvenile video, like he looked like somebody around the corner from me. Like right now, that looks like Fifth Street, but it was really, you know, hell of thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
But the way the dude, I think it's Mark Classfield, the way he shot the video was like he would show an ambulance and show the MTs in the front, but they weren't moving, but the siren was moving. And they would show like the dog barking. They would show it was hood as fuck, but it was like beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like, how did he marry the two?
Yeah.
And I kind of started to do that. And then also like the beauty in women, like in photography and like a lot of like nudity and things like that. I shoot a lot of that shit as well, because that's kind of how I grew up. Like it wasn't really taboo like that to watch a movie with some nudity in it. It wasn't like close your eyes and da da da. I didn't really grow up like that, so I could see the beauty in women without it being sexual. I think a lot of people still have that hang up that nudity is wrong or violence is wrong. Like this whole country was built on violence, but can I find the beauty in it? Can I twist it in a way where it's different, or not even different, but just capture how I think it should be captured?
It's that juxtaposition that you were talking about. That's why I love like the kind of the new generation of like music videos and photography. It's like a lot of, you know, sometimes we get tired of like going to the and like shooting the same videos over and over again, but then like you do run across those artists or like those certain videos where you're like, damn, this is so crazy. Like this is just, you can't get this kind of vibe or, you know, aesthetic or anything anywhere else, and it's just super super cool. But that's growing up in Richmond. What was like at the time, what was the community of like photography and music? I know it must have been different. Like what was it did you have any friends that were doing any photography, or like did you feel like you were the only person doing that at the time?
Nah, like it sounds crazy, but I really felt like on some alien shit because just where I was from, and I didn't see nobody doing it. And I didn't see anybody making music at a high level either. Right. It was easy just to do like simple gangster shit, but I listened to so much different kinds of music growing up, so, and different kinds of rap. So it just became like, if I'm gonna do any type of street reference rap, it has to be authentic to myself. Yeah. And then the same with photography. I didn't know anybody that was a photographer. I didn't know anybody that did that from where I was from. It was like the regular shit, play hoop, sell dope. That was kind of it. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't really options like that from what I could see. So to have a camera, to have access to a camera, to even want to go do it felt like I was on some weirdo shit. You know what I mean? Opposed to what was going on around me. But back to what I was saying earlier, I just felt like doing the opposite. I just always felt like doing the opposite. So everybody's selling dope. I think there's a different way to sell dope. I think you don't got to actually stand right there on the corner to do it. You could do it a different way. Right. If I'm going to take photos, I'm going to really take photos and I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to try to do it. If I'm going to rap, yeah, I can rap about street shit because I'm in this environment, but I could also do it a different way. It doesn't have to be the same as everybody else. Like, that's boring as fuck. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of how I felt about it. And I just stayed on that course. Win, lose, or draw, I just stayed on that course. Like, man, fuck it. I'm going to be laughed at. Yeah. You know what I mean? But shit.
That's where the real art comes from, though. It's just going the other way. Like, you know, it's easy to fall into that monetary trap where, you know, it's easy to copy and paste because it's easy to make money that way, where you just, you know, copy other people's style and see what they're doing and then just emulate it and just start making bread off of it. But taking that leap where you just go the other way is where you really find the true stuff and really cool shit.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask, like, do you think that it's, you know, like in lyrics or in movies or in photography, do you think that, you know, violence in those different mediums, when it's exploited, do you think that it's like, where's the line to where it's like glorifying the violence? Do you find that there's any way to glorify violence in a way that's counterproductive, or do you think that if it's true to someone, then it can't be counterproductive because they're just telling their story?
I think it's like a vibe, and that word is such a, you know what I mean? Like it's different for everybody, but I think it's a vibe. When you see something and it doesn't feel authentic, then it's exploiting you.
Right.
Like if you can look at you like this is just because, and at the end of it, if there's no resolution to it, then it can be looked at as exploiting.
If there's no critique or there's no like self-awareness
Or takeaway from it.
Yeah, kind of like a mix between that. Like the art, the directors and the people that are producing it, they have to have some sort of end goal.
Right.
And then the person in front of the camera has to be delivering this. Like, why am I killing this person right now? Like, what is the point?
Yeah.
And if it's just a story, but if it's a real story or based on things that someone has seen, then I can't critique it because it is art. And it's very hard to critique anybody's art. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's their art.
It's their story.
I can think it's not good compared to the things that I've studied that I believe are good. But it's so subjective, you know what I mean? But I do think there's, you know, in early 2000s, like, I'll use this example, like NWA, for example. Like, it started off kind of political, and then it just started kind of moving into what people call gangster rap, and then people emulated that.
The
And
second
then
part.
Yeah, then it became just gangster rap.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, what happened to the, like, you were fighting for something. now
Yeah,
you're not
right.
fighting for nothing, you're
Yeah,
just
I see
shooting
what you
people.
mean.
Yeah.
So now I like it, but I'm not really sure why I'm killing people now. I'm just killing people.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you
So,
just took all the glory out of it instead of like the meaning and everything behind it. I feel what you're saying.
Do you think that, because I think that there's a difference between like, you know, when there's art being created, there's the person who is the, like, let's just make an example of like an artist making a song, and they have like violent lyrics, or they have lyrics that's like, yeah, that's violent or could be seen as exploitive or like not true to themselves, where like a place where you would draw the line, where do you feel, is there like a more, should the person who's photographing that person that is maybe like now telling this other person's story, or shooting the video and now telling this other person's story, do you think that there's like a connection between the morality between the person who's documenting this other person's story, or do you think that it's two separate jobs and it's not connected?
I personally believe that it's connected. I believe that as storytellers, or if you have the medium, it's like artists aren't children, but kind of what you were saying earlier, like sometimes you show up, you don't know what's going on, like we shoot the same thing over and over again. Like, but as storytellers, you got to look to see who it is you're assessing, like who is this person, and just talk to them like, shit, okay, this is your story, how real is this story, like is this for real who you are? Because I meet a lot of gangster niggas and they just be sweet people. At the end of it, it's like, damn, so why are you acting like this?
Yeah.
And it's not my job to like do any psychology work on them to figure out, you know, can I get them to be different? But I was watching, was it Moneybag Yo? We was watching Moneybag Yo video, and he got the song with the lean. But the video,
Waukesha?
yeah. But he loosened up a little bit and made a more lighthearted, funny video.
Yeah.
But he could have just did it regular and just had the cup and just had the drink and just whatever. But he chose to kind of like, all right, but somebody convinced him to do that. Somebody was like, show your lighter side.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's part of storyteller's job to go, let me step you out your box a little bit, because you're going to look like everybody else if you don't.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Got to show that light side to it, because it's such a, like if you shot like a regular video, it just almost, you would have made it just seemed too much about drugs. You know what I mean? It's like less so like, oh, this is like you're enjoying the nice song with the nice video. It's like you're starting to think like, wow, this is really just about lean, and this is super crazy that we're making this super cool. It's like, it's interesting that you say that, because like sometimes, you know, like you're hired for a job and you just trying to make, you know, ends meet, so you kind of got to do what you got to do. But sometimes I do sit back and I realize, like, you know, because I'll get in that mode where, some videos I'll listen to the song beforehand and really get the vibe for the song, and sometimes I'll like pull up and listen to it for the first time, and that's no disrespect. It's just in terms of like what they're paying for and then like what the package is. But then like you do start to realize like what this song is about, and sometimes it doesn't align with what you really. You start thinking like, damn, this song is super disrespectful. And it's just like, damn, like, and sometimes I do get to that point where you're like, I got to put my tag on this, and I just feel super uncomfortable because I've been in those instances where I was like, I'm not gonna put my tag on this, and I send it to the artist, and they're like super offended that like, yo, you didn't try or something, like why didn't you put your tag on it? But it's just like, yeah, you kind of do. Sometimes you got to think about your morals and think about what you're putting your name on. It's like, yeah, you're getting paid, but you got to think about, obviously your image and what you're putting your name on, but like, what are people gonna think of when they listen to the song and like your name's directly attached to it? It's like crazy. It's like you got to pay your bills, but at the same time, it's like you do have a kind of a responsibility to kind of like maybe, like you said, like that was a perfect example. Like if it's something about drugs, maybe make the video or the photo shoot just a little bit lighter, kind of a little bit like opposite of what the mood of the song is, just to kind of give that like, okay, he's kind of playing around kind of vibe, where this is just not, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we do kind of have some type of responsibility in terms of giving, especially on the visual side, kind of representing this artist in a certain way, for sure.
The kind of the reason why I asked that is because that's one of the things that I've been thinking about, and I know that we've talked about this, like just as far as like the videos that we're shooting, because it's like, just shooting videos in Oakland, shooting videos in the city. It's like, a good portion of the videos that people are booking us for, it's like they're gonna be a lot of like, gang kind of videos, or like they're doing a lot of stuff in the videos, and it's like genuinely one of the things that's really kind of stuck with me is that one of the videos that I shot for, like the main guy who was in the video, and like I don't want to get too much into it, but the main guy who was in the video, it was clearly a diss video, and clearly had all the stuff in the videos, and then the next day, the same dude who shot for was gone, and it was like, and I I don't want to put too much on the internet, but I shoot for everybody in Oakland. I know all sides in Oakland, so it was very clear kind of what happened. So. And then that really kind of made me think, like, okay, most of the videos that I'm shooting for, it's like genuinely, even when I'm listening to music, most of the time I'm not really even listening to lyrics. I listen to music for the vibes. Like, I don't listen to lyrics as much. But when I do listen to the lyrics, and when I do see what's in the videos, sometimes I'm just like, like this really is this, it's like, it's cool because it's like sometimes it's just like, that's what's going on, and like that's what people pay me to do, and then that's what people know me, like that's the kind of videos that people like see me shooting. So it is what it is, but then sometimes it's just like, damn, that's just not me.
I mean, it's interesting though, because it's like what's like your responsibility to like understand like all the politics and what's going on? Because at the end of the day, you're just somebody trying to like make money off his art and trying to go the opposite direction that some of these people are trying to go. So it's like you kind of do. I feel like once you get to know certain artists, like when I've come to build a relationship with the artist, and I just know that it's like they're having some problems or whatever, then it's probably smart to not just go shoot with the ops or whoever. But I try not to.
But then that's like picking sides.
Yeah, it's like picking sides. It's just super weird dynamic. Like you would rather be kind of like
it's neutral,
blind into what's going on, but at the same time, like you said, it's just after a while, it's like being just a person, it's kind of hard to like be blind to, because you just hear it in the song, and then you're editing and you hear it multiple times, and you're just like oh wait, this is what he's actually saying. This is crazy.
He's talking about somebody who I know.
yeah. So it's interesting. Like what is the responsibility of like the director or somebody on the other end, like do you feel like some people feel responsible to understand that? And I can understand where you're coming from, where it's like you've seen something really happen directly caused of what happened. I mean, that song was going to get put out regardless. So it's like, there's nothing you could have done about that. But at the same time, it's like, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, it's for me. Both sides are important. Like as a pure artist, like take me out the music shit. As a pure artist, I couldn't see myself being so high and mighty that I'm not going to shoot somebody's video because he's doing whatever the fuck he's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
On the flip side, as an artist and as someone trying to like build like a company and it's based in like wellness, then the destruction part that they're being a part of is really their life. And I've seen it and I like come from it, but the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now is because I've seen it and I come from, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like I don't want to be around it.
Yeah.
But for you guys to take any responsibility for somebody else is too much. Like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't take responsibility for someone's actions, but it does put you in the middle if you got to shoot so-and-so video tomorrow and then the other homie video the next day and they fucking, and y'all are kind of like in the middle in it. So my only, not even advice, but my only suggestion would be to start raising your prices to a point where you're accepting quality work, even if it's gangster shit, even if it's hood shit, but top tier hood shit, like
Top
like,
tier
you know,
shit,
just top tier hood shit, like, you know what I mean? Like I could listen to Moneybagg, y'all could listen to Lil Baby, I could listen to all the top tier hood shit.
Right.
But once I start getting to so and so that just got the stick for the first time, and he walking around, he tripping, and I'm probably not gonna shoot that one.
Yeah.
Because you don't have no concept of what it's like to be on time, to be professional, to you got to look over your shoulder. Like, I don't want those kind of issues because y'all running like a real business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then you got your clients got to start be real businessmen at some point. And
Right.
you might take an L for a little bit, but in the long run, then you're going to come out on top. Like,
Yeah, there is a
that
power.
op shit, I
Yeah.
don't want no parts of that.
There is a power in saying no. Like, you know, you kind of do. You know, once you start saying no, you kind of like you do see more opportunities that kind of fit your morals come into play. Because like if you're just saying yes, obviously you get greedy, but like then you start like attracting those clients that are just willing to shoot whatever, and they're kind of just on the point and shoot kind of vibes. But when you kind of, like he said, raise the price and start saying no, you start to attract those clients. But the only downside to that is like you do limit the people that you're working with a lot. So like, I mean, it's kind of like it's a win-lose situation.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it just depends on like, you know, like you said, just your morals. And if your goal is just to only work with people that are not on that kind of stuff, then yeah, you might have to raise your prices and figure out how to weed out those kind of clients for real.
They're not. If they say they don't got the money, it's just not true.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people aren't as broke. They're only broke when it comes to paying for art. That's when they decide,
Right.
but they got the shoes, the clothes, the guns, the bitches, the vacations, they got all the cars, all the shit. And then it's like, yo, this video is $1,500. Then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, so just go fuck with somebody else
Right.
that's gonna give you some bullshit for $200 or whatever it is that you're looking for. Like, you know what I'm saying? So just the business part of it, I don't want to hear that shit. Like, I don't want to hear that. You lying if you saying you ain't got the bread.
That's interesting that you said that, because I was talking to somebody about tattoos the other day. And, you know, I pride myself in, like, the tattoos that I got. Like, I really like the artists that I went to. And, you know, I kind of, you know, being in the art field, like, I value, like, somebody that is just really good. I don't really care about the price. Like, at the end of the day, if they're going to give me, like, you know, just for this little tattoo right here, it's, like, this big. I paid $1,000 for it because, like, the guy just was, you know, he's the guy in his field. And, you know, every time I go somewhere, somebody will be like, bro, like, that's a cool tattoo. How much you pay for it? And I tell them, and they're like, oh, nah, my guy will whole sleeve for $400.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, like, like, dude, your shoes are more than your whole sleeve. Like, that's not a problem to you. Like, you're like, your shoes and your like your chain is more than what's on your body. That's so crazy that you actually think that way. And people really just feel like when it comes to art, like you said, they're trying to, that's when they don't have the money for it. They're just trying to cheat their way through it, because it's almost like when it comes to like tattoo artists and directors and stuff, like we're all kind of like, you know, if we're working with like rappers or artists, we can relate to them. You know, they kind of see us as like these kind of cooler people. So they feel like, why would I be paying this person a lot of
Well,
money?
I
Like,
think-
you
I
know,
think the
because it's just
reason
like
why-
they feel like
Yeah.
they feel like they kind of have like this, similarity. I don't know what it is, but they feel like they're able to just like, get by on prices because you're somebody that they kind of look at you less as a legitimate business. Like, you don't go into Walmart or somewhere and be like, hey, I'm actually gonna take this for $200 actually,
Right.
and then I'm gonna pay you. I'm gonna pay you after after
Exactly.
you're done. Like I'll tell people after I'm done with the shoot, like, you pay me the bread, and then that's just how it works. And I've had a couple people like, nah, I'm gonna pay you when you're done with the video and whatever. I'm like, okay, I understand where you're coming from on that perspective, but this is how I do business, and like this is the way we're gonna do it because you came to me. Like you don't go into Target and try to negotiate,
Well,
bro.
I do understand to a certain extent why people kind of have like a large confusion when it comes to like artistic pricing.
Right.
Because I think that it's like it's really easy for people in their minds to understand, like, even if like a $300 pair of shoes, it's like maybe the cost of materials was only like $60 and the markup was super huge, but in that person's mind it's like the material warrants it to be $300. It's a physical product. And it's like and even like a flight, it's like, people aren't consciously thinking about it, but it's like, airlines, they have to pay for, like,
Right.
there's a reason why that price is that price. They can't drop their price below that because they wouldn't be able to sell it. But it's with art, essentially it's hard for people to understand because art is like, an artistic work is kind of intangible. Even photography or videography, it's fairly intangible. It's not like you're losing money necessarily to give them a photo,
Right.
or to send them over.
They don't see the expenses going into
Yeah,
it.
there's no like real tangible expenses that you're giving them that you can't take back. It's like all the expenses that you have paid for, it's like you invested up front, and you're not giving them a portion of your camera every time you send them a
Right,
piece of
right.
photography. So it's like, in their mind, it's like you're charging them for a photo shoot. It's just like, it's whatever. You're just making up the price, and it could be, you could technically do the same photo for free. Like Walmart, for no reason, there would be no reason for them to give you a pair of shoes for free because they paid for the cost of
Right.
that. It's like you're not losing any money by sending.
there.
But it's like I understand where they're coming from, but that's kind of like, that's the difference between, I think, why there's so much pushback with people in paying for art, because it's like it's hard for people to understand where they're all the
Is it
investment. Yeah,
Okay, for sure.
pretty sure.
And yes, but it's all in our mind.
Yeah.
So I agree, because that is how people kind of see art. But all of this shit is in our mind, and it's all subjective
Yeah,
because we don't know how much the shoes really cost.
yeah,
We could just assume, like, damn, McDonald's sells me 99-cent burger. We can assume it didn't cost them 99 cents to make it because they wouldn't make any money.
yeah.
So if you can afford to sell me a cheeseburger for $1, your markup is probably 80-90%. Like what? Like, so it
Yeah.
costs you 10 cents to make this burger.
Yeah,
Like, we're all guessing at that point. So the
Yeah.
same with the art. Like, somebody could say, like, kind of what you said, like, hey man, I just want to get a photo shoot, man. I just want 2 pictures.
Right.
Yeah, but now I have to go, yeah, but all the work that I put in, all the years I put in, understanding lighting, understanding creative processes, understanding customer service, understanding how to use my camera, all of this shit, editing to get you 2 pictures, and you're not a professional model or professional actor or whatever it may be, it's going to take me an hour to do that.
yeah.
Because it ain't just click, click. What if your eyes are closed? What if you look stupid as fuck in this picture?
Right.
I can't just give you 2 pictures. It's going to take me an hour
Right.
to do so. Now, my time, you can't tell me how much my time is worth.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
telling you how much my time is worth. And my time for this hour is $500.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could be somewhere else with my family doing whatever I want to do with my time.
Yeah.
So that's the part that it's like my value is all of the days and hours and months and years I put into understanding my craft. That's what you're paying me for.
Yeah.
Like if you call me to do a verse, I'm not paying you for the words and for the bars and for the 16. I'm paying you because I took time away from kicking it with my family and working on my own music to come do something for you because you want to use me as value to sell your song.
Right.
So I'm doing you a favor by even charging you this much because my time is, you can't afford my time.
Right.
I'm just
Yeah.
I am making up a fee.
Yeah.
And if you don't think I'm that valuable, then don't fucking call me.
Right.
Like, that's kind of how, you know what I mean?
No,
Yeah.
definitely. I think I couldn't agree more. It's like you're paying me for the time it took me to get to the position where I'm at, and not only even on the artistic side, but also on the on the other hand, where you're interacting with the clients, because that's like the other big part. Like when you hire somebody artistically, like you want somebody that's going to be able to walk you through the process, and you're going to feel confident, like because you're handing somebody a lump sum of money at the end of the shoot. You can't really guarantee that they're going to actually provide what they're saying that they're going to provide. So all you can take away from that shoot or whatever it was the experience that you had and how comfortable that the director or the photographer or the engineer made you feel in that moment, which is super important. I feel like it's really the time, like you said. It's just you're paying for the time and the knowledge, not the equipment or the material.
Yeah.
Like you said, the tangible things that you could grab onto. It's really in the mind for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe going back to kind of like a personal career wise question, like what if you could run back the clock and you could go back to whatever time in your life before you started really progressing in your career, what were the mistakes or what were the things that you would have done differently? Because it's like it's easy to say like, oh, like I have no regrets. I like where I am right now, but just if like what were some of the mistakes that you made that maybe you could have, even if you didn't do them differently, you could have just told your younger self like, yo, that was wrong.
That's crazy. Me personally, like just me as a human being, definitely work with more people, like kind of like I'm doing it now, but I just didn't really give a fuck about nothing at that age. Like I'm just doing what I want to do. I'm making music. So I would tell my younger self just to network more, just to be more approachable, gain more resources, and stay connected to the resources that you did have. Because I could have 1,000 industry friends, but call them, pick up the phone, shoot the shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's up with it? How you doing? Da, 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 da. Nothing about music, nothing about trying to get something from nobody. Like, just establish better relationships in general and continue the relationship. I just wasn't into small talk. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm somewhere, I'm out and about, and someone's like, hey, nice tattoo or some shit, I'm like, all right, thanks, man, get the fuck out of here. Like, I just didn't really care for it, you know what I mean? But now I understand that could be a millionaire ready to invest, and I just blew him off because I didn't want to talk to him. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think that would be the biggest thing I would tell my younger self is just, fuck with it. Like, go outside and meet people and have a open ear.
That's an acquired skill for sure. Like also carrying a conversation. Whereas like I think that's something that we're starting to develop doing this podcast, which is cool. Is like taking a conversation and making it last and just keep it up and keep that energy there. Because like you said, bro, when it's those little random conversations, you really just don't know who you're talking to. Like I've ran into people that I've talked to, and then somebody would be like, "That's so and so," and you're like, really? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like messed up that you're thinking about like, damn, I should have done more after knowing who it was, which is, so it's like really, you never know who you're talking to or who you may run into. So it's a skill though, for sure. You got to build that up and just develop that.
Yeah.
No, really though, asking questions. I just learned how to ask more questions when I'm talking to people. Just learn how to worry about the other person and not myself. You know what I mean? Like having a conversation like, what's up with you? Where you from? What you got going on? What's up with you? and then people just open up. They'll just tell you everything you need to know. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether they're an asset to you or not, you'll find out. But that's not my first mind to do that anymore, is to make it about me.
Right.
It's like, what's up with the other person? And then once I understood that, hey, I wish I could tell my younger self, like, hey, man, just it's not about you right now. Like, you know what I mean? And not that I was ever self-centered to the point where I didn't recognize other people. I think I assumed other people weren't really worried about me because everyone else was worried about themselves. So I'm just like, well, it's every man for themselves.
Yeah.
It's the independent. We're from the base. Independent. Get it on your own. Get it on your own.
Yeah.
And that's not really how anything works in life.
Yeah.
Like, you always got to have someone to help you. Like, you know what I mean? Whether it's your parents, whether it's your homies, there's always a person that's helping you. Like, if you're doing it by yourself, you're not going far at all.
Yeah.
Like, you know
That's
what I mean?
very true. And I've asked this kind of like deviating from what we're talking about, but I've asked this to mostly every podcast. What and it's interesting because you produce photography, you make music. What was if you could share like one thing that enhanced the business side of your work, like in terms of either it be bookkeeping or keeping a calendar, or like what is something that you can give somebody out there that's a little bit younger trying to make some money off this? Like what's a tip you can give that kind of made the financial side a little bit easier? Because I feel like people that are in that art world are not too familiar of like bookkeeping or keeping track and stuff like that, and that's really it's hard to balance and hard to learn. Now, obviously you could YouTube, but like it's like, what was one of those things that kind of helped you keep organized or enhanced your financial kind of situation in terms of art?
Start kicking it with people that do care about it, you know what I mean, more than you do. Even if, like, I'm not super bad like with money or keeping track of things, but it's also not my first mind. So if it is someone else, like Deuce or Deezus or somebody that's in the crew, to make a spreadsheet. I kick it with people that don't just rap. If everybody rap, you're not about to get far at all. Like, everyone cannot do the same job. Like, someone has to do wardrobe. Someone has to do the bookkeeping. Someone has to do the photos. Someone has to do something else. Everybody rapping, then somebody's going to spend the money on rap shit. You got to have somebody saying, yes, but not right now. Tomorrow we're going to do this. Okay, it costs $1,000 for this. We only made $600, so you can't do that. Like, you know what I mean? A rapper's going to go, no, I want those shoes. I'm buying those shoes. But if you start studying business, then you understand, like, or not even business. I don't want to just disrespect telling people. Let me not say that. If you're in the street and you doing shit and you hustling, then you don't spend the re-up. It's just a part of the game. Like, you just don't. Like, you know what I mean? You got to wait. You stack. So it's almost common sense, but a lot of people get caught up with how it looks to be on, how it looks, and they spend the money before they make the money. Or as soon as they get the money, they spend it.
Right.
You got to surround yourself with people that don't think like that, that got your best interest at hand. Like, man, fam, you can't buy the car right now. Just wait. Let's carpool. Let's, like, you know what I mean? It just doesn't look as cool to you, but don't nobody give a fuck about you enough to even judge you in that way. So my advice would just be all the shit people been taught, and ask yourself where it came from. Why do you think that? Why do you feel that way about your fucking money? It's your money. Like, the shit we just talk about with value and shit like that is, I value myself enough to know I study this shit. Kind of what you're saying about the video shoot. Like, if I'm gonna pay you to come shoot a video and I don't know what I'm doing, you could tell me anything and just shoot anything, and I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. But also, if I'm into this art shit, now we can have a conversation and say, ooh, what about this? What about that? Because the art is important. But my money is important too. So like, if you said, man, I charge $5,000, I'm like, all right, here. And then you just do like this and then walk off, then I just got fucked out of some money and didn't even know it. So just keep people around you that do other things.
Yeah,
and
that's important.
Number one, somebody around you that keep your money intact. Like,
yeah.
For sure.
Right on. That was a great conversation. I thought that we went into some interesting topics. I appreciate you sliding
I
through.
appreciate you, man, for real.
For sure. Is there anything you wanted to shout out or anything that you wanted to, talk about before we end the conversation?
Grand National at the New Parish, August 6th, 2021. Nothing Lasts Forever. Kevin Allen album's on the way. Coordinates, Brookfield Deuce is on the way. Flowers, Password album is on the way. Season 1 is on all DSPs now from Grand National, twice on Sunday. BTS, Jay Hancock, the whole crew, Ian Kelly, Champ Green, D Bledsoe. I'm going to forget a million people by doing this. I always shoot myself in the foot. Marty Draper, you know what I mean? It's the whole squad, man. Grand National, Kevin Allen.
Facts.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Appreciate you.
Thank
man.
you.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Cool.